Welcome back, everyone. This is Victoria Wilders, your COVID-19 Ed podcast host. So excited that you've joined us today, and I thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to have less screens, to listen, to create, and to innovate with us. Well, boys and girls, today we have an exciting lesson ahead, and we're going to be focusing on an empathy tale called The Homeless Hill. For those that are new to this episode or new to this podcast, my name is Victoria Wilders. I'm a mom and an elementary school teacher from Langley, British Columbia, Canada. I have been creating the Empathy Tales podcast for over a year now, and I have all these lovely stories that I shared at my kids' bedside. Sarah, who's 13, and James, who is 11, has heard these stories for at least the last 5 years, and I eventually got them on episodes. And now I'm taking those stories and I'm turning them into lessons during our COVID-19 pandemic. Would love for you to reach out to me at mykidslocker.com, and we are going to be working through 3 parts today. Part 1, listen. Part 2, create. And Part 3, innovate. Please use the hashtag MyKidsLocker and hashtag COVID-19Ed. Well, without further ado, we are now going to move on to Part 1.
To Part 1. Are you comfy? Are you cozy? Well, get ready to listen.
Well, welcome to Part 1. We're pretty excited that you're here, and we're excited that you're able to listen to a wonderful story. So we are going to be doing the story called The Homeless Hill. Now, this story was actually created because I really enjoy hiking. And sometimes what happens is you're on hills or small, lower areas, and then you look around, you see all these beautiful, majestic mountains. And living here in Langley, British Columbia, Canada, we have a lot of mountains. And so this story was based off of my own experiences. And the quote today is, "We will build a house on this homeless hill, and this will be a place where we will remember to be grateful." This story is actually about a magical hill that talks, and it's surrounded by majestic mountains. There is a woman that comes and stands on this hill, and she listens to the voice of the hill. And during this time, when you're listening to the story, I want you to think about gratitude. I want you to think about what it means to be grateful. As my quote states, we will remember to be grateful. What can you be grateful for today? What are things in your life that you can thank other people for? Maybe it's the house you live in. Maybe it's the food that's on your kitchen table. Maybe it's the smile of your parents. Maybe it's the sun shining. Whatever it is, I hope today you will be able to be grateful. We are now going to move on to Part 2, create.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Part 2 today. We are going to create something amazing, and let's get crafty. Bye.
Well, here we are at Part 2, create. And today we are going to be focusing on the acronym TAIL to be able to help us. And the focus is T. So TAIL stands for T for tell, A for art, L for layout, and E for express. Each of these letters we focus on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of each week. So today we are going to be focusing on telling the story. Now, we are starting this week with a focus on characters. Yes, characters. What are characters? Well, characters are people in stories. And according to Webster's Dictionary, characters can also be described as one of the persons of a drama or novel. So, there are a lot of things to think about here because we are going to be looking at characters this week. Now, when we look at characters, we are going to be looking at what it means to be a character. In this story, there is a main character, and it's a woman. So, as we are doing our telling today, I want you to focus on the main character, what it means to be a main character, and how she develops as she moves through the story. And what I mean by develops is, does her feelings change? Does she become a different person by the end? Today, I would like you to try to take some notes. Use some words that you hear. Write down words. You might want to write down some descriptive words, which means words that tell about what's going on in the story. But while you're listening, write down some sentences and some words and descriptive words that you hear. Now, depending on how old you are, this assignment is going to look a little bit different. Okay? So, I hope that you enjoy the story of the homeless hill and enjoy writing down some of your ideas. Enjoy. Once upon a time, long, long ago, there was this small little hill that was surrounded by beautiful mountains. These mountains were covered in snow, and when the sun rose, they sparkled with the light that hit them in the Oak and Eagle Kingdom. They were known as the most majestic mountains throughout the kingdom. All day long, people would stand and look at these mountains. These are so glorious. There were waterfalls falling down these glorious mountains. Their beautiful colors of trees made villagers stand in awe. At the base of them, these mountains, and all around everyone from local villages, would always talk about these beautiful mountains and how glorious they were. They'd always say, "Oh, stand on the homeless hill to see the beautiful mountains." So, people from all over the place would stand on the small little mountain. The small little hill in the middle of these mountains was essential to see the most beautiful mountains throughout the Oak and Eagle Kingdom. There was a young girl named Sapphire who would always go to the top of this hill, and she'd look around and she'd see the sun shining with beautiful blue skies. She'd see the birds flying, she'd hear the birds chirping, and she would always be in awe of what a beautiful place she was in. One day, she heard the hill talking to her, and he said to her, "I don't like being a hill anymore. I'm done being here. I want to be a mountain. All those mountains surrounding me are big and majestic. I am not. There is no point for me to be a hill anymore." Sapphire was surprised and was taken back by the fact that this magical hill was talking to her. She said, "Oh, homeless hill, you are such a beautiful creation. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be able to stand and look at these beautiful mountains around us. You've helped us look at this beautiful view." A tear rolled down her cheek. As years went by, the homeless hill, he never talked to her. Then it was the day of her 20th birthday. She stood on the hill, and the sun was rising. The homeless hill talked to her again. He whispered, "I don't like being a hill anymore." Sapphire now said, "You have always been a place for my feet to stand, for grass to grow, for rabbits to hop, and for the wild animals like squirrels and the raccoons to wander over and around. I appreciate you. I am grateful for you, and you have helped me appreciate nature and helped me appreciate the beauty of our world around us." The homeless hill sadly sighed. "I don't understand my purpose. I look around every single day, and I see these beautiful, majestic mountains, and I just don't see a purpose for me." Sapphire said, "Oh, you have served more than a purpose and continue to serve so many people. I appreciate you. I am grateful for you. I love you." At that, she went down the hill. Several years passed. Sapphire would continue to go up in the hill, but the homeless hill would never talk to her until one day she brought up a man that she had fallen in love with, and the man whispered, "I have never seen such beautiful mountains. Look at the glaciers on the mountains. Look at the beautiful sun hitting them and how they are sparkling. Look at the beautiful sky and the birds and the sounds that you can hear. Look at the trees on these mountains that surround us are gorgeous." She looked at him and gently replied, "But what about the hill we're standing on? If it wasn't for the hill that we're standing on, we wouldn't be able to see these beautiful mountains. It would be very hard to be able to appreciate the beauty, because just at this angle we can see the waterfalls. Just this angle we can see the growth of the aspen trees climbing up the side of the cliffs. We have come here to celebrate not only this beautiful mountain and the beautiful mountains around it, but this hill that is under our feet." The man said, "Yes, I understand that you are grateful and you've appreciated girls. Look at the animals and look at the wild flowers and the trees that are on this hill." He gently picked up a beautiful butterfly. He then shared the green grass and the beautiful delicate butterfly here and other insects that find a home in this hill. His home, their home. She said, "Yes, I love this hill." Sapphire and her companion walked down the hill. Several years later, they came back up and they looked around. Sapphire hadn't been to the homeless hill for a long time. The man looked at her and said, "Do you miss your hill?" She smiled and she shared calmly, "I miss this view, but I miss my homeless hill the most." And he turned to her and said, "We will build a house on this homeless hill, and this will be a place where we will remember to be grateful, but not only grateful for the view, but grateful for the soil under our feet, and for the insects that lay on the grass that is so green, and the trees that climb up and shade the animals from the heat. We are going to be grateful for the aspen that climb the rocky, jagged mountains, and the glaciers, and every single drop of water that leads them down to the waterfalls of splendor. We are going to be grateful for the fact that we are standing on this hill." The homeless hill spoke again to Sapphire. "I am grateful for you. You appreciated me and valued me. I've always thought that I've been worth nothing, but today I feel valued and I feel appreciated. If it wasn't for your grateful heart, every appreciation, I would have never thought I would have been worth much." Sapphire knelt down on the delicate bed of emerald green grass and pressed her hands into the beauty of her homeless hill. She whispered very close to the homeless hill, "You are not homeless anymore. You are our home. Today we will begin the process of building a beautiful home on top of this hill, and we will raise our family on this hill, and they will come to appreciate you. They will appreciate the mountains that surround you. If it wasn't for the soil that is underneath our feet, we wouldn't be able to see the beauty that we have around us. So we appreciate you." At that moment, the wind rustled, the trees and the sun shone brightly throughout the oak and eagle kingdom. At that very moment, there was peace, gratefulness, and appreciation that was sent throughout all the hills and all the mountains from the homeless hill. Sapphire continued to share her story with her children and grandchildren in the Oak and Eagle Kingdom. She was known to say, "Be still and just look down to be grateful. Sometimes the most normal things are the most extraordinary.
Hi everyone, it's time to innovate, part 3. Woo.
And here we are in the last part. Well, it's time to innovate. It's time to extend your understanding. So for this activity, you are going to pretend to be one of the main characters, 10 years in the future. Perhaps you might want to be the woman. Maybe you might want to be the man, or you might want to be the homeless hill. In this extension, what you are going to do is you are either going to write, draw, act out, express your understanding of what it would be like 10 years from now. So perhaps on the homeless hill, if it was through the homeless hill's perspective, perhaps by then there might be a coffee shop on the hill. Maybe the coffee shop might be a very popular coffee chain. You get to choose what it would be like 10 years from now. And then you're going to do it through the perspective of one of the characters. Now, some of our younger listeners, you might want to just draw a picture. Some of the older listeners, you might want to do a perspective piece and do an assignment. Now, I'm going to leave you now with that assignment, and I hope that you will consider posting your work on #MyKidsLocker, #COVID19Ed, and I would love to be able to reach out to you. Well, thank you so much for joining us today for the story called The Homeless Hill from the Empathy Tales series. If you are interested in listening to the original recording, you can do so through the Empathy Tales podcast. Feel free to reach out to me at mykidslocker.com. This is Victoria Wolders, your podcast host, and until next time, I hope you have more time to listen, create, and innovate. See you on the next episode.